real quick, we're going to start from left to right. I'm going to pass the mic over to Anna, and then y'all just briefly introduction of yourself and why you're here, and just kind of pass it along, and then we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Anna Muszynski. I am a Marine Corps veteran, and I've been supporting Second Amendment rights and education. I've been in the gun industry since I got out of the Marine Corps. On top of that, I'm part of a group called the Irreverent Warriors. We go out and go to cities just like Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and so many more in every state. And we walk for a few miles and we talk to people and we try to socialize and build that camaraderie. And that's our way of preventing veteran suicide, is by actually getting out and talking to people and making those connections with people that might save your life. Or you might save someone's life, and finding those people that will answer a call at 2 a.m. And just help out. So, yeah.
I'm Beverlee Hawkins. I run the Ladies of 2A. It's a female shooting team, or not team, I guess. We're just a group of ladies that like to shoot together. I am a civilian, but I did meet most of the panel here through the Irreverent Warriors in Knoxville. They became my friends fairly quickly through my lessons, and then I participated as a volunteer with one of the hikes in Knoxville.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Allan Proctor. I am an Army veteran. I'm also a member of the Irreverent Warriors community. Private concerned citizen. I happen to care about Second Amendment issues. Also just here to be a part of the community, show my support, offer a little insight, a little background, tell some stories, and just, be among some friends. That's why I'm here.
What's up, guys? I'm Charlie Reifenberger. I'm from Memphis. Well, I'm from Atlanta originally, but I've been living in Memphis for 2 years now. And I'm a new gun guy. Been shooting for 2 years now. Not related to moving to Memphis necessarily, but... Not necessarily. I do stand-up comedy. That's my hobby. And I have a podcast called Golden Nonsense. It's really fun. It's not about politics. We're just joking around. I hate politics. I like philosophy. I don't like politics. So that's all I can really talk about is philosophy.
Awesome. So that's our panel here for the education and solutions portion. So we're going to start off with what first got, and this is a broad question, I'm going to throw to you actually first, Charlie, since it seems like you're a fairly newer gun owner, and I really enjoyed your episode that you had Memphis Beach on the Golden
Thanks,
Nonsense. That was just great content. What got you into the Second Amendment and firearms education?
Well, I'll tell you, I've always thought that the right to bear arms was super important, just philosophically in a theoretical sense. But I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 3 years now.
Congrats!
And, thank you. So that was kind of the motivation to actually start, to get armed and start shooting. I was, as much as I was in denial about the fact that I had a drinking problem, I was aware of it enough to know that I probably shouldn't be owning a firearm if I'm going out getting blackout drunk, every here and there. It's like, and I lived in a pretty dangerous neighborhood in Atlanta too. So I just, periodically I'd be like, I should get a gun. And then I was like, I don't remember what happened last night. I should probably not get a gun. So it was kind of like a reward for getting sober for me. Was I think I can handle being a responsible firearm owner. I'm going to go get one and start training and learning how to shoot.
Do you feel like that was kind of a reward to you, or was that a goal that you were working towards through your progress and your trip to sobriety?
Not necessarily. It just was kind of a cool perk. It was just something I knew I couldn't do when I was drinking, and there's something that I thought I was capable of doing once.
Self-awareness, huh?
Yep. Once I put the bottle down. So just a bonus.
Absolutely.
In addition to the rest of my life not falling apart. It's I get to be a responsible gun owner too.
That's awesome. On that note about education and seeing progression of new firearms owners, Beverlee, do you witness, what kind of stories do you see in new? I know you are our first firearms safety scholarship instructor that we went through that we awarded our first scholarship through. Could you tell us a little bit about the journey of that young lady from where she first started and you know where she kind of progressed, and now she's a concealed carry license holder now, right? Thanks to you. So that's awesome. I'm gonna pass the mic to you.
Sure. It was kind of odd. I shouldn't say odd. I don't know. She was a young lady, and I was surprised to get her in because I don't deal with a lot of younger ladies. I feel like I could put an age gap in there, like the 35 to 45 is the most of the women that I deal with. And this young lady was 20, I believe, 19 or 20. And she had been attacked in her own home. And that really hit home with me. Like I mentioned in my talk a little bit ago, I've been attacked twice, but not in my own home. I always felt safe in my own home, and I always felt like it was sort of, I guess when I got into firearms and doing the training and working at the range and that immersion into the firearms world or the firearms community, I realized that I wasn't safe in my own home, but with the training that I had, I was. So this young lady came to me, and she was terrified in her own home. So she wanted the training. We went through a lesson, and out of all the students that I've instructed, she will forever stick in my mind because of the sheer terror that she expressed to me, and then the way that she absorbed everything I had to teach her. Everything that, all the nitpicky, minute little details, she just absorbed it so well, and she paid such close attention. When she got to the point to where she took her permit class, she absolutely aced both the shooting portion and the written portion. So a highly intelligent young lady that had just never been exposed to firearms. She said that she had shot a couple of rifles with family on property once or twice, you know, the old tin cans on the fence type of thing. But that was it. She had no idea about basic gun safety, trigger control, breath control, any of that. So when we did the lessons, I was just thrilled that she took it in the way she did. And then, you know, I feel like I helped her feel safe and confident in her own home.
Absolutely. That was inspiring too. It hit a little home for me as well. And that's something that, you know, she went on after that initial sponsorship or her awarding that first scholarship for that lesson. She went on and invested in her own education, did a secondary class, and that's just great to see them do that. And we hope to look. That's our next priority, is building the firearm safety scholarship and expanding that to all of Tennessee. My next question is going to be on education, but also awareness. It's going to, I'll go with you first, Allan, then you piggyback off of Amanda. It's kind of awareness and education about suicide awareness. Suicide it's obviously a problem that plagues the Veteran Society, but also just America in general. And it seems like we have a inclination in America to focus on a tool or access to something versus the actual underlying reasons of suicide, what's causing it, and what are some things that can remedy and be preventative before we get to the point of where we have to talk about taking someone's firearms or any kind of instrument that could inflict damage. So in your personal experience, Allan, and being a veteran in the irreverent warrior community, what have you seen that strikes different about that community, and the lessons we can learn to take to suicide prevention to spread awareness and prevent suicide?
Well, if we're talking about experience both in and out of the military, because, like you said, suicide hits. You can probably ask any citizen; they'll probably know someone who knows someone who unfortunately isn't here today because they didn't see any other way out than by taking their own way out. I love being a part of Irreverent Warriors because one of the things that they've done is they've recreated an environment where that camaraderie was just natural. For those of us that put on the uniform and, used to wear our rank and name literally on our chest, it was easy to have at least that basis level of, I guess, something that we have in common with one another. And then when, one thing they barely train soldiers and other military personnel to do is how to be once you get out. The civilian world, life goes on without you when you're not there. So you got to try to pick up where you left off, but that's really out of the question. So Irreverent Warriors and other organizations out there recreate that camaraderie. Don't have to mind my language. I don't have to translate things because I'm speaking with people who already know what I'm talking about. And for some people, simply not being alone or not feeling like we're alone makes the difference. You never know how, man down. So, that's one of the reasons why I got involved, was because it's just, if nothing else, it's a chance to be amongst friends again. It's the chance to, not feel isolated in a world that arguably isn't really set up for community that way.
No, 100%. And that's some of the experience that I've also seen with the Reverend Warrior and other groups too. I know, Anna, you had talked about some other groups doing some cool things. But, we see, the famous statistic is 22 a day. There's veterans killing themselves, 22 a day. And obviously something isn't working through the VA. Obviously there is a glitch in the system. What can we do, Anna, to fix that and actually prevent the suicide or that point of no return versus just automatically maybe talking about taking someone's firearms because they're a danger to themselves?
So what I've found from personal experience is just having the community, and I know that can be hard for a lot of people because, when somebody's alone and they don't really know where to go or where to go out to and meet those people, which is why, some organizations, which I'm so happy to be a part of, Irreverent Warriors, has done is create an opportunity to be in a social situation that you might not put yourself in just as a, because I'm not one to go out and just go to a bar or go to a social event if I don't have somebody that's taking me with them. And so, Irreverent Warriors was one of those places that I just walked up not knowing anybody. And the first person that said hi to me just became instantly my friend. And I think it goes into a lot of the selflessness of just reaching out to people and being that kind person that can exchange a kind word and things like that. It's as simple as just as saying hi and being nice. I think that a huge huge solution like taking a gun away from somebody is a little radical. Just because I know personally, if someone came in and took away my guns out of fear that I was going to hurt myself, it would make me afraid to reach out to anybody because I would be afraid that someone would go into my personal property and take my personal property. And so I wouldn't reach out. And I think that's the biggest issue with all of this is that you should feel safe to reach out. And the VA for me has always struggled with mental health therapy and all that, and just trying to actually give me something more than just a diagnosis and a bottle of pills. And so I've just found that reaching out and finding somebody that you can rely on, and that's that 2 a.m. call, that could really save a life. I think it's just the camaraderie of being a human being and respecting and understanding that other people are going through a tough time too. And that can't be taught, but I definitely think that it should be advocated for, and it should be, just being nice should be pushed more than anything else, which sounds a little preschool, but it's basic and it's true. It helps. It works. So.
No, and that's great too, and part of that community too, whether it's with Irreverent Warrior, Tennessee Taking Action, whatever group, community, tribe that you find in that, is that maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's the Golden Nonsense podcast, starting that conversation where you feel comfortable enough saying, I don't feel okay, I am not okay, being comfortable enough with those individuals and getting that help. Because what we're seeing is not having that trust with whether it's a political leader, administrative leader, institution, whether it's the VA or whatever, I don't feel like we can trust to have that conversation. That's why it's beautiful to have these conversations. And it's a shame that, somebody from the kind of like maybe the anti-gun red flag persuasion isn't here to have the conversation, because we've been over backwards, reached out to Justin Jones, reached out to Representative Pearson. And if y'all are watching today, I humbly ask you, have this conversation about, suicide awareness that doesn't involve gun confiscation. Let's actually talk about the problem. Charlie, you got something, brother?
It's funny when you guys are talking about that. It reminds me of like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's funny because the way Alcoholics Anonymous works so well is because everybody has been there. They all have that in common. Like I've been where you were. I was 3 days sober at one point, and everybody's like uniquely equipped to help each other out because they have that in common. And I think that's a similar thing you guys have with your veterans. Everybody's come from the same background and is dealing with similar problems.
Man is by nature a social creature. Yeah. Oh, you talking about philosophy earlier. Man is by nature a social creature. Yeah. I don't know if there's any real rhyme or reason to existence on this world, but if there is, I dare say not being alone is probably one of the true worthy causes out there.
I think that everybody has been sad before. So I mean, if you want to relate to somebody, I think that having a tough conversation with a friend, you don't want to bring sad conversations into your friend group, but just to reach out to someone that maybe you haven't gotten that deep connection with yet, and just be like, are you actually doing okay? Mm-hmm. Because that can make an acquaintance a really good friend. And just that we all have that in common, that we all have times in our lives that we've lost our homes or we've lost our jobs or we've, gone through changes and moves and things like that that have upset us, and have made us feel some type of way about it. Mm-hmm. And to think that everybody's just doing okay, and that when someone says, how are you, I'm fine, that they're being honest. To ask a little deeper and just to get to know somebody on a deeper level could save someone's life. I think that's a more suicide prevention than anything else, is just reaching out to the people you already know, because everybody knows somebody, even if it's just your family. Or if you don't, then find a stranger on the street, because that's how most of my friends came about. It's how I met Zeb. It's just, kind of stranger encounter, and one conversation later, and I'm here hanging out with them. So it doesn't take, doesn't take much to make that connection and just be there for somebody that might really need it. So.
You have something on that, Beverlee? You sure? You sure? Okay. All right. I could be a hog sometimes. All right. So, I'm going to ask like an open discussion question right here, related. What do you see here in the future of a group like Tennessee Taking Action? What our mission? I know we're talking about empowering education, community awareness, things like that. Obviously, we have our legislative goals. We're in support of true constitutional carry. We want to get rid of soft targets such as gun-free zones. But, outside of the legislative, we can talk about that as well. But what would y'all like to see, Tennessee taking action? And I know we got two firearm instructors with us here that we've already used. Anna, you're going to be playing a pivotal role in Chattanooga. And then, also, y'all have talked about it. Y'all have been a part of the movement as well. What would y'all like to see the future of Tennessee taking action? Who wants to take that first?
Well, I can just say, my first Tennessee Taking Action event was a range day, and I think it's pretty easy to get people to come shoot guns. Hey, you don't have to pay a range fee, and you can come hang out and shoot some guns. So if we want to get more people involved, I think that's a good way to start. Just have more range days.
Okay. Well, there's a Gals Day at the range. I'm going to shameless plug for somebody else. There's a Gals Day at the range at Windrock Shooting Park. Mother's Day, it's a Saturday of Mother's Day weekend. I don't know what the date is. The 11th. Anyway, it's like $100, but these ladies get to go out and shoot all kinds of guns, be exposed to everything from your small 22 caliber all the way up to a 50 caliber, shotguns, rifles, optics, all of it. It's just exposure. And I was there last year, and it was a fantastic event because there were, I think, 4 ladies that attended that had never shot a gun before in their life. Never. And they had a fantastic time. So any preconceived prejudices that they may have had towards the 2A community were completely wiped out just by that exposure. They realize that there's so much more to it than the extremists. Completely off topic on that, but a different note. A thing that I found isn't really well known is that the state of Tennessee does not charge tax on safes, gun safes, or gun locks. So
Didn't know that.
yeah, I bought a safe a couple months ago and no tax. I was like, cool, on a $500 purchase. Tax is a big deal. So, of course, as an instructor, I wanna push the education, but also as a firearms owner, it's our responsibility to protect other people by controlling our firearms. Many of us have more than one. It's more than just the one that might be on our person at any given time, but there's several in a safe somewhere. They should be controlled like that. Make sure that they're not accessible by other people. So on the topic of suicide prevention, I had somebody in my household that I knew was struggling, and for me, just to make sure that my firearms were locked up in my house wasn't even enough because I love that person so dearly. I took my firearms out of my house, took them to somebody else's house for a period of time, just so I could be absolutely confident that they had no access there. Of course, as other people have mentioned, there's access to other means if it had come down to that. And I helped that individual seek, the therapy and counseling that they needed. Things are much better now, but it's our responsibility as gun owners to take care of that.
One of the things that you mentioned, what are we hoping to see in the future? And, legislation aside, one of the things that I hope organizations like this help in is creating environments where people can engage in educational dialogue. Because like someone said earlier, education, how do they phrase it? Education does away with, what was it?
No gun control survives education, gun education. That's courtesy of Memphis Beach, Mikos Beach, one of our TNTA instructors. He's got his own thing going on out west, but that's what it is.
So I love that statement because civil dialogue, creating that sense of community. At the end of the day, most people they just want to be left alone to go about their business, make it home today. I forgot to mention literally the first job I had after I got out of the military was working in a gun shop. I've sold many firearms, and my favorite customers were the ones who came in. I know this is just purely anecdotal, so just being upfront about it. This woman came in and she said, "My home is no longer my home." Because over the last few years, the neighborhood has really genuinely taken a bad turn. I didn't press for more info than that, but she said, I was genuinely followed into my building, and thankfully the door slammed, just in time to keep, I don't know what would have happened had he gotten in, but my home no longer feels like my home. So her world came crashing down around her, and I told her, well, then you've come to the right place, because here, knowledge is free, and ultimately it was just, she was petrified thinking, the realization hit her. Am I now responsible for myself? And I'll be like, yeah, I'm afraid the veil's been lifted. And once it has been, it doesn't go back down. So just that kind of realization is going to happen either through a drastic measure, such as, a potentially dangerous encounter, or it's going to happen by civil discourse, civil dialogue, events such as this that ultimately get more and more people to know what they're talking about and hopefully engage about it in a civilized way. That's my hope.
I think for a lot of the people that I have been a part of training, and I've seen other people train, the way to start has always been recreational, shooting for sport, getting people involved in any type of target competition, things like that. When you talked about competing earlier, I think that is the best way to get someone started, because you start with the fundamentals and how to hold the gun correctly and all of the trigger control. And when people hit the target right on the bullseye, it kind of gets you a little excited, and that can be anything from archery and any type of shooting kind of sport. So I think starting with recreational activities for Tennessee Taking Action to kind of get people just to compete and to put guns in a way that's not, we're not teaching you to defend yourself or to be in a tactical situation. We just want to get you out behind a gun, shoot a target, and you might win $50 for it or something like that. And that'll kind of remove the fear. And then after that, that's when you get into the defensive stuff. That's when you get into the real life application and things like that. But when you take away that initial fear that the only time that they're going to use this gun is for their own self-defense, and that this can be a sport, this can be recreation, and of course that's going to take a lot of money out of your bank account. But it's a really fun sport to get into, and I know that a lot of people, beginner, never held a gun before, started that way before they moved into defensive and before they moved into any type of like maneuver or drill kind of training for firearms. So I think that Tennessee Taking Action, doing something that has more of a recreational vibe, might get some people out that wouldn't naturally come out for a defensive handgun or rifle course. So
kind of to go off of that, being an instructor, dealing with women, working at the shooting range, I find that a lot of the newer shooters, like she mentioned, come into it because of the sport. So-and-so, and their friends are going to go to the range for a range day. Well, I've never been. Well, come on, let's go. And we seem to have that sort of camaraderie at the range. But occasionally, I've experienced these women that come to me in fear. I experienced my own fear. We talked about the first recipient of the Tennessee Takes Action scholarship. She came to us in fear. You just spoke of another woman that was in fear. I was on a Facebook page somewhere out of Knoxville with a woman had posted that she had been held up at gunpoint, terrified for her life. And on Facebook, she mentioned that she would never go out of her house without her firearm again. She had a carry permit and she just didn't carry. As soon as I read her discourse about what had happened and that she was scared and would never leave home without it again, that is a woman that's on the run and scared. So I was nervous for her and her reactions. So I offered a free lesson. We worked together, and she definitely needed the lesson. So if she had gone out the very next day carrying her firearm and somebody had so much as poked her, it could have resulted in a terrible loss. But because she was so high-strung and so unnerved, so getting that introduction through the sport, through competing, and it doesn't have to be a big competition like this Gals Day that's coming up. It's just an introduction to firearms. Here we've got a plethora of options. Have at it. Learn something. It's just a good option to get out there so that people are learning before they get put into that fearful situation.
Well, the die is cast. Sounds like Tennessee Taking Action is going to be sponsoring some shooting events. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's why we have these conversations. This has been great. And again, for those watching, I'm sure there's some people of the other persuasion that believe in preemptive gun control, thought crime, believe in banning certain weapons because they look more scary than others, believe that people don't have the right to carry or the right to self-defense. I would ask you, please reach out to us. We'd love to have the conversation. We have begged the anti-gun lobby in Tennessee to come out and have a conversation about these solutions. Today, we've had a conversation about solutions to suicide, solutions to education, normalization, and none of it involved taking someone's firearms away. We just want to have that conversation. And for you all watching in YouTube land, Facebook land, wherever you're joining us today, feel free to check out our website. Check out our Firearm Safety Scholarship. We've had a lot of talk about that up here today. It's a really good program. It's a great program, and essentially the idea behind it is that we sponsor, we award these scholarships that will be the genesis for, maybe it's a young lady in this case, maybe it's a young man, whoever it may be, that is maybe don't have the funds to get the training they need. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they've been told to be scared of firearms their whole life, and they haven't had the courage because they've been by themselves in these echo chambers that prevent them from getting that education. We encourage getting that education. We will send you to your first class, okay, with the hopes that it encourages you to go out and fund your own education and continue that prolonged, lifelong continued education that firearm safety is. I want to thank all of our panelists here today on this first panel discussion we had. I'm going to give everybody, starting with you again, Charlie, just closing remarks, and then after that, we're going to bring Cody back up, Scarborough, and he's going to introduce our next speaker.
Man, I don't even know what I have left to say. I wish there were some people on the other side of the issue here to have a conversation with us, because I just think that they don't understand what we believe. They think that we're just selfish and that we love our guns so much that we don't care about, what could happen. No, like we there's a little more to it than that, and it would be nice to be able to have that conversation. So, if anybody knows anybody who they debate with about these things and wants to do something in a public forum, invite them out, and that'd be really fun.
I mean, my sentiments really just echo what you said about, one, we've talked about, bringing people together, creating a sense of community, the mental health benefits that it allows people to have, the, friendships they get to build. And also, it breaks down the barriers that keep people totally stuck one side or the other, as if life was that simple. Education and friendship and camaraderie eliminates the chance for people to otherize the other group. If I'm right, you must be wrong. It does away with that. So really, be a friend, be a decent person, reach out to somebody, talk to people who know more than you or think differently than you. You might surprise yourself.
I just want to thank Tennessee Taking Action, because honestly, I think that this kind of open dialogue is the place to start, to get to people before the fear is embedded. Or before the thoughts are there to take their lives, that type of thing. Get them the education that they need ahead of time.
I think it's awesome that we got to come out and do this and talk about some real stuff. And I think going back to the suicide thing, you kind of stole my note. Reach out. I challenge anybody that is not in a good headspace to reach out to somebody that has maybe made that friendship connection, or somebody in your family, because there are other ways to go about that than suicide. And I think that a lot of people think that's their last hope, and there has been so many opportunities where I've personally been in a situation where I did not think that there was any other way, and I found other ways to save myself. And I really appreciate the support system that I have. And all it took was me picking up the phone and trying to call somebody. So I say to everybody, I challenge you to reach out to someone if you're in a bad headspace, and just make a connection and make a friend. So, thank you, Tennessee Taking Action.
The final word is thank you.